Now that you understand that losing weight and keeping it off isn't some kind of quick fix, here are the actionable methods you're going to take this year so you're not just wasting time on fad diets and burning yourself out on overtraining yet again. Generally, you should be shooting for as close to your body weight in protein every day as possible. Unless you're very obese, then you may be able to go 40 to 50% of that. Not only does it take more energy to break down high quality proteins, look into the thermogenetic effect of foods. Higher protein intake helps you build and preserve your precious metabolic muscle tissue as you lose weight, so we can look healthier and more fit after the weight loss and more easily maintain the weight loss. Weight maintenance is something most people don't even consider, but it might be the most important aspect of weight loss. High protein also helps provide a way to structure your eating habits. When you're staying within strict caloric parameters, understanding the importance of prioritizing protein forces you to optimize your decision making so you're not wasting calories eating things that don't contribute to your overall goal. Partly why I think low-carb weight loss diets are incredibly silly in my opinion. Fiber is often found in many carbohydrate sources and are one of the most satiating things you can consume due to the substance being hydrophilic, causing water retention in the stomach, forms viscous gels that slow gastric emptying, and increase the sensation of fullness. Foods that are high in fiber are also often very low in calories since your body cannot break down the fiber's elements. Volumetric foods are foods and or meals that are low in calories but high on the satiety index due to high water and or fiber content and sometimes protein. This is such an important aspect of general nutrition that is just not talked about enough. It is possible to lose significant amounts of weight if you're willing to consume mostly volumetric food. Large amounts of fruits and vegetables every meal, large soups, large self-made protein shakes, freshly made oatmeal, and much more. If you prep well, these foods can last for days at a time, can be put together with little effort, and only takes a little bit of planning. Things like salads and soups can be low calorie, delicious, highly nutritious, and highly satiating if you're just willing to search for some recipes online. If you're someone that has a high food drive in general, like I once did, volumetric foods are almost like a cheat code. Most people just eat when they're hungry, and that's a huge problem when you're dieting. Your eating habits should be routine, ideally eating at around the same times every day, whether you're working or at home, whether it's a gym day or it's a rest day. The more you plan and structure your daily activities around specific eating patterns, the less likely you are to succumb to what's called decision fatigue, which I talk about directly in these two videos here. And this becomes even more important when you're in a caloric deficit consistently and your brain and body is just feeling more fatigued overall. Decision fatigue is why after a long day at work, people are often just reduced to the basic instinct of junk food and streaming. After a long stressful day at work, the last thing you want to do is make one more decision about what to eat, how to prepare it, and how that fits into your larger overall scheme of trying to improve your health and your fitness. You're more likely to just stop at Taco Bell or use DoorDash. Make sure you're getting the requisite amount of sleep. If you struggle with sleep like I once did when I was overweight, please watch this video I made on the subject, which might help. The video also talks at length about how essential good sleep habits are to good weight loss and or weight maintenance, even if it becomes a bit more difficult when you're in a true caloric deficit sometimes. In short, sleep deprivation alongside dieting messes up your endocrine system. Hormones related to satiety and decision making like ghrelin, leptin, and cortisol when dysregulated will influence your eating behaviors. Also, if you're sleeping longer and you have a high food drive or high degree of food noise, that's an activity that can keep you from overeating. When you're sleeping, you can't eat. I know it sounds messed up, but merely being distracted by an activity like sleeping is an important aspect of dieting and weight maintenance. More on that incoming. If you're not addressing what your environment looks like at home, work, school, or Planet Fitness, you're going to struggle with weight loss. I think this is one of the main things people struggle with. Changing your environment isn't just about changing your weight, it's about fundamentally changing who you are. You're changing your identity. You're going from a person that has habits that are unhealthy to a person that has less healthier habits, and those are two completely different people. Here's more on that subject in this video, but in short, hyperpalatable foods that you struggle to moderate shouldn't even be in the home. Not to suggest that you never eat your favorite foods ever again, but there has to be some degree of friction between you and those desired treats if you want to succeed succeed. If they're just sitting in the cupboard 10 feet away from your room, in the kitchen, then you've just created a frictionless surface for you to glide from your bed to your pantry whenever the smallest dieting challenge strikes. You may need to talk to your significant other, your kids, or roommates about the foods they bring into the house and their overall eating habits as well. You may need to hang out in different spaces and have different friends for a little while. This all might sound a bit extreme, but your environment plays a crucial role in your ability to succeed at weight loss, and people make up your environment, arguably more so than the inanimate objects that grow eyes and a tongue when you're dealing with stress and hunger. Most people struggle to make this connection, and if they do, well, we're social creatures. Most people struggle with the idea of having to potentially change who they are if that means getting healthier, so it's easier for them to self-sabotage. It's no wonder most people struggle with weight loss. This is basically about just keeping your mind and body occupied to deal with food noise. Stay busy, exercise. Consistent resistance training not only helps you develop a healthier body composition, it's one activity of many that can help keep your brain preoccupied enough to lower food noise and food drive. Like the sleep thing mentioned earlier, it's hard to eat and exercise at the same time. But life isn't just about working out, of course. It's supposed to supplement a healthier lifestyle, not be the end game. Get a new hobby, learn an instrument, get into video games, learn a new language, tackle a scientific subject, learn a program. The world is rich in its infinite variety, and denying them at the expense of the transient pleasures associated with unhealthy food consumption ultimately isn't worth it. Make new social connections. Find people online or in your local community that have successfully developed and maintained the environments and habits that you want to emulate, or at the very least are making concerted efforts. Now, I know I've talked about how our modern environments also leave us overworked and stressed with little time. In that context, adding another task to the pile sounds absurd, but hear me out. Conscious pursuits that you personally find edifying are the exact opposite of stressful, and can go a long way in lowering your overall perception of stress in your overall environment. If you're someone that likes to snack before bed while staring at the television because you feel like you've earned that time after a stressful day, I urge you to consider how you might be able to use the time to make you a more powerful human being. Try to reframe that same wind down time as a time that you've earned to tackle a new subject or learn a new language, for example. Having the time to do those things should be considered just as much of a privilege as being able to vegetate on the couch. Stop crash dieting. All that does is increase the inevitable backlash your endocrine system will employ to try and reach its homeostatic equilibrium or its baseline. You should try to think of your homeostatic system as a mechanical spring. The faster and harder you compress it, the more energy it has to bounce back with more force. Slow and steady wins the race, every time. Yes, I know it's boring. Yes, you might not make the beach body by summer, but it's what works. You've tried the other ways before. This time, you should probably try something different. Slow to moderate fat loss with periodic maintenance phases is what is sustainable because it gives your brain and body a chance to adapt to a new normal. In practical terms, that means you should be shooting to lose 0.5 to 1% of your body weight per week, or around a 300 to 500 calorie deficit every day. So if you're a 200 pounds person, that means losing 1 to no more than 2 pounds per week. There may be times where you gain a few pounds. That is totally normal for a whole host of reasons. Patience and persistence is what matters most here. People lack these traits more often than they lack the genetics capable of weight loss or weight maintenance. Food noise and obesity, they're not some character flaws. If you consider yourself to be just an empty vessel or a mere stowaway on the cruise ship captained by your hormones, then there's not much that I can say to convince you otherwise. I just want to briefly mention that I'm not here to steer anyone away from using Ozempic. I hope people come away from this video not thinking that Ozempic is their only hope. As a formerly obese person, again, I'm not here to tell you that the only way to lose weight and maintain that weight loss is to walk to the treadmill both ways in the snow. That method has its pros and cons, and taking semaglutide definitely has its pros and cons. Whichever methodology you can use to get to and maintain a healthy weight, you should do that. Just consider that this food environment is not going to change anytime soon, whether you're on semaglutide or not. You're going to have to survive in it. For many people, long-term access to something like semaglutide or affordability will be a challenge. And even if access or affordability were not a challenge, I'm not sure the reliance on exogenous substance would be the ideal. Supporters of GLP-1 agonists like Oprah are fond of making the argument that obesity is a chronic disease state that requires constant treatment. Kind of like having high blood pressure if one stops taking the medication, the obesity comes back, and sometimes many times worse. And to be fair, that is the official position of organizations like the American Medical Association, World Obesity Federation, and Endocrine Society. But while that's a fine analogy for illustrative purposes, it breaks down under the complexities of reality. Blood pressure is a hemodynamic parameter. It is heavily regulated by autonomic and renal systems, which is a fancy way of saying that medication can control it, even if behavior doesn't change. It's a more autonomous parameter. It's like the smart thermostat adjusting the AC in your home in response to the ambient temperature. It's not as simple to just behave your way into a lower blood pressure in the same way you couldn't behave your way into bodily temperature adjustments. Obesity is more like microphone feedback, where the environment amplifies whatever signal your body is giving it. GLP-1s don't completely eliminate the feedback, but they can help lower the gain and reduce amplifications provided by the environment. Anyways, this was a long one. If you're looking for help with your programming, nutrition, or one-on-one coaching from a person who's been there, done that in terms of losing and maintaining a healthy weight, contact information will be in the description. Laters.